Much like what Disney did with The Mandalorian for the Star Wars universe, Disney also tries doing the exact same thing for the MC universe in the form of expanded storylines in TV series format. First, we got WandaVision, which I already reviewed that, and to preface that, I really enjoyed WandaVision. There were some flaws to it, but overall, I really enjoyed the aesthetics. Basically, in every episode, I enjoyed the original parts of it, the difference of every episode, every setting, and everything. So now we get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as an early preface, is basically like the later parts in Avengers Endgame, where it's a 5-year continuating story of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But it's so much more than that. As far as characters in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there are many recurring characters that are involved in it, not just those two. But on top of that, hands down, the best aspects, the best parts of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are the character moments. And whenever the character moments are outside of the plot itself, whenever it's actually deepening the character's history, the character's lore, just everything presented as the character growth and everything, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier nails 10 out of 10. Every character moment in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like I said, is a 10 out of 10. Well written, great character moments. You can feel these characters as if they're living real beings. And you could say this is a personal bias of mine because hands down my all-time favorite MCU character is the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, mainly being he just has such rich history, such an involving backstory, being best friends with Captain America as well as dying in the past and coming back and being one of the main villains. And on top of that, my two all-time favorite MCU films in the entire universe is The Winter Soldier and Avengers Infinity War. The Winter Soldier is one of my favorite MCU films, mainly because of how mature and politically driven it was. And it featured the Winter Soldier. Basically, it was the start of the Winter Soldier storyline, set aside his past in the first Captain America. But the Winter Soldier was the best starting point for turning the entire universe into a much more adult, fair, mature, politically driven storyline. And honestly, I wish they had a lot more storylines and films featuring that kind of writing and storytelling. But with The Winter Soldier itself, it's a phenomenal film filled with a bunch of phenomenally implemented plot twists, writing, action sequences. Avengers Infinity War is one of my all-time favorite MCU films, mainly because, much like The Winter Soldier, they actually involve certain aspects of politics, but it has to do with kind of like outer space politics. Thanos' whole main storyline wanting to save the entire universe, built around his ideology and how he would do that, just based around the history that he lived through and how he had to live through life and all the tragedies that befell Thanos in his life and time period and everything. And Infinity War had a bunch of plot twists within itself as well. It was very well written. And The Winter Soldier and Infinity War, they both stand out as the pinnacle of character moments and writing and direction in the entire MCU universe. Now, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, hands down, as I already said this in the preface, but I have to reiterate, the best positive about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are the character moments. you will actually like these characters even more. They continue their storylines, and not just with the characters themselves, but they also add in the previous lore, the history of the entire MCU. That's how you know that this is set in the 5-year period after Thanos snaps and everything. So the great attention to the deep lore of the MCU is implemented inside of the excellent character moments in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And as I already touched base on it, the interesting continued stories that expand the entire universe, not just the world, but just everything having to do with even Captain America. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is not just based around the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's based around the continuation of the presence of Captain America both before he passed away and after him being gone, and they replace him with a new military grunt who has the background and the credentials to be the next Captain America, and you go through his storyline alongside the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And as far as the new Captain America, I think the character, the actor, does a good job portraying that character. The problem I had with the new Captain America is some of the storylines, some of the plotting of it was a bit cliche. In the story, his plot devices, some of the Captain America character's plotting was just, it was a little too on the nose and cliche, in that the whole team ups and not liking the new guy on top of plot twist. Oh, but I kind of figured that personal relatives and friends get involved, just like any other personal MCU story. Overall, though, every character does a good job with continued storylines and the actors and actresses themselves, and it's not just them as recurring characters. We also get Sharon Carter, we get other super soldiers that actually delve into their past. They have different experiences with being the super soldiers from the past. We also get more of Zemo. We get more of the Black Panther people. Another good thing I can say about this, the visuals and the audio definitely hold up very well. There was only one scene I thought looked a little iffy, and that was the part when Bucky was chasing after the main villain in the street. I don't know, when he jumped out of the window and onto the road and started running, maybe it was just the way they shot it and filmed it. It kind of seemed, maybe they had the camera on the ground and Bucky was running away from it into the city. I don't know, something about it just looked fake to me. Maybe it was just because it was basically a standstill filmed shot. Maybe I'm not used to that, especially in things like this. It's a minor gripe. It's really nothing to worry about. It was only like a 5-second scene. Everything else held up very well. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier looks phenomenal. It sounds phenomenal. Disney Plus definitely utilizes the best capabilities of 4K and Dolby Atmos visuals and audio. And that's honestly about all that I have to say good about it. This isn't a bad TV series, but the biggest problem with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it ends up being at the end of it, when you finish it, it starts to feel like what they did to the final season of Game of Thrones. They should have expanded it. It's a 6-episode story, but by the very end, the last episode, it feels way too rushed. Granted, it still has really good character moments, but the last episode overall just feels so rushed. But then also the episode preceding it feels really slow. Like, it's a slow build, which is fine. I'm okay with slow builds. I love the show Justified, which is built off of slow builds and slow burns. The problem, though, is the first 4 episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it holds a steady pace. It has awesome character moments with some good action sequences, but then we get episode 5 where it starts off with an intro of a main action sequence, which it was a good part of the story, but that action sequence alone, and then every action sequence after that one to the end of the series, I felt like how they filmed the action sequences after that one were very poorly done. It kind of seemed like they were trying to put the action in your face with the camera work, and it didn't really work at all. It kind of seemed like they had amateurs behind the cameras that grew up watching J.J. Abrams' style of filmmaking, but they don't really have a grasp on how exactly he does action sequences. I'm not going to say they're Michael Baying it, because they're not. Michael Bay is just kind of out there blowing things up, and that's definitely not what they do in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But the filming of the action sequences from the beginning of episode 5 to the very end, they just feel so amateur and very poorly done. And maybe it's because of the rushed and inconsistent pace and tone of the last 2 episodes. Like I said, episode 5 was a slow burn, and then after that, the last episode, they were trying to get to the point in every which way. And in doing so, the series overall kind of bombs, because by the end, it ends, and there's always a post-credit scene. We all know it's MCU. But by the end of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they rushed so quickly through the ending and the resolutions of each storyline that it ends and the credits roll, and you're just like, okay, I get it, but that's it. Like, this probably could have stretched out to be an 8-episode season. I hope they continue this series, because much like WandaVision, this was at least an adequately made and done show. I think WandaVision was better because it did some original, unique things. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier exceeds and excels immensely when it focused on the character moments outside of the main story. And the main story itself has its own major issues, mainly being the main villain and their henchmen. We get some backstory of the main villain. We get some presentation of their motives, but essentially, if you simplify it, it's still just terrorist bad guy trying to blow everything up. Now, they do justify that with a very well written, very well presented, very well directed monologue scene by a main character by the end of the last episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I won't go into major spoilers, but there definitely is an awesome 10 out of 10 monologuing scene in the last episode. The last episode overall was a bit of a dud. It's not a failure per se, because they accomplished what they needed to accomplish, and that's good. But outside of what they accomplished, how they implemented it into the series, how they made it as an episode overall, was very poorly done, especially if you hold it up to even the first half of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which had its own fair share of problems, but nowhere near as bad as the last episode. Mainly having to do with the editing in the action sequences, just the overall rushed pacing, especially with it being right after the slow burn of episode 5, which was very character heavy. And then episode 6 was just kind of trying to resolve everything as quickly as possible. Yeah, I mean, other than all of those gripes, The other gripes, with it being some cliche storytelling, with it, I mean, examples being the new Captain America being the new guy and he's being shunned by everybody on the good side and on the America's team, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's not that they hate him or dislike him as a person. It's just he's filling the shoes of one of their close comrades and friends, and they're just kind of like, whatever, man, leave me alone. And I understand that, but honestly, first of all, in a storytelling sense, that's such an overplayed plot device. And second of all, if you simplify it and you look at it objectively, they're kind of military soldiers, all of them. They're there to do a job. I'm not understanding why they're letting their personal feelings get in the way of their mission, and that happens quite frequently in the MCU. Main example being when Star-Lord tried beating the crap out of Thanos when they almost defeated him, but he found out about Gamora. It's just, you guys are there to do a job. You're all technically in the military. You're there to do a job. Do the job, go home, and then cry about everything. I'm sorry, call me heartless, but you're there to do a job. And that's what I don't like about the MCU, mainly because it's so overstretched with so many of the same storylines in movies that they essentially boil down to ultimately the same plot devices. Things happen, and then new things are added in, and then they're all just like, whatever, because of, I guess, PTSD, you could say that. But that's the issue. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. Not only does it become predictable and painfully cliche, there comes a point where the plot devices they continually use over and over again, they're just redundant at some point. You have to stop and say, okay, well, at least the MCU films are very well shot and filmed, but they recycle damn near everything. And that's why I love the films, The Winter Soldier and Infinity War. I also love the first and the third Iron Man films, but for me, the pinnacle of the MCU are The Winter Soldier and Infinity War. They had the balls to do original, unique things in the plot and the story and the narrative. They did them with no regrets, and they succeeded immensely. In The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they focused on character development, which was great. Like I said, the individual character moments alongside the team-ups for the character moments, they exceed immensely in those. But the main story, the main villain, to me, just because of how painfully predictable and cliche the main story and villain are, it's just a fail. And how they treated the new Captain America, at first, I thought it was going to be a fail. And as cliche as his storyline did end up resounding out to be, it was still a good presentation for the new Captain America storyline. I did like how they implemented his story and character into it, with it being John Walker and everything. Otherwise, though, this isn't really a groundbreaking series, but it's not a total failure by any means. This is one of those series where you can sit down bored one evening and just decide to put it on. You can get 5 hours out of it, 3 to 4 good hours, and then 1 hour of, wow, this is going by quickly. Oh, it's over. Oh, okay. Well, at least I have answers, I guess. Didn't really let me sit down and absorb the last episode, but all right, I'll take it. So I hope if they make a second season, they fix at least one of these gripes I have with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. With WandaVision, I didn't really have all that many gripes. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I have quite a bit of gripes, just because how they it's not even the writing of it, it's just the direction and the editing mostly. It was just painful by the end. It was just unbalanced, and then by the end they just tried to just get done and over with it. And 8 episodes probably would have fixed the majority of those issues. So overall for me, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier succeeds in character moments, and some writing that being the character moments, but it also fails in the main story and the main villain and cliche story plotting devices. So overall for me, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a 7 out of 10. Thank you. If you like this video, please like the video, and again, if you like the video, subscribe to my channel. I'm not going to say a lot of reviews, but in the past year and a half, I've put out about 200 reviews between movies, TV shows, books, albums. So yeah, if you want more reviews from me, if you like this review, subscribe to the channel as well as liking this video. Thank you.